It's week 7 of 2022. I'm Smita Nair. This is your weekly fix. Punjab will vote on Sunday. The state is witnessing a multi-cornered battle. There is the Congress party, which has seen major upheaval in the months leading up to the polls, with, among other things, the exit of Capt Amarinder Singh. Then there is the Shiromani Akali Dal, which broke ties with longtime ally the BJP and is facing this electoral contest in alliance with Mayawat's Bahujan Samaj Party. The Aam Aadmi Party is being touted as the party of change, with some opinion polls placing it in pole position. Clearing the pitch is the BJP in alliance with Capt Amarinder Singh's Punjab Lok Congress and the breakaway Shiromani Akali Dal Sanyukt. Not to forget a group of 22 farm organizations that led the successful farmers' protests, forcing the Modi government to withdraw the 3 contentious farm laws, also in the fray. Then there are the various dairas. Will they play a decisive role in a sizable number of constituencies? What explains their socio-political influence? Let's get Dr Pramod Kumar, Director of the Institute of Development and Communication, Chandigarh, to analyse all these factors for us. Thank you, Dr. Kumar, for making the time for speaking to us here at Scroll.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Kumar, how crucial are alliances going to be this election, and how are they likely to influence the outcome? Please give us the lay of the land.
Okay. The first thing I would like to mention that this election is distinct from all the earlier elections which I have witnessed, during the last 3 decades. There is a crowding of electoral space. There are 3 cornered contests, but there are 2 others political parties which are also in contest, but they are not in a 3-cornered contest the whole of state of Punjab. For example, there is Akali Dal, which is a 100-year-old traditional political party of Punjab. Then there is a Congress party, and then there is a Aam Aadmi Party, which is a new rookie party which has come to Punjab sometimes in 2017. And then there are 2 more political parties. One, the Bharatiya Janata Party, which used to be an ally of the Akali Dal earlier. Now they are fighting election with a new political party, Punjab Lok Congress, launched by Capt Amarinder Singh, and Sanyukt Shiromani Akali Dal of Mr. Dhindsa, who is a breakaway group of Akali Dal. And then the second is Sanyukt Samaj Morcha of Kisan Union, and it is basically a breakaway group from the Sanyukt Kisan Morcha, which launched a long agitation at the near the national capital, and they won that agitation. And out of that, one group decided to fight the election.
Right.
So there is a crowding of space, which means, but one factor is very clear: in this crowding of space, there are lots of options, but hardly a choice.
Sure.
Which means all political parties don't offer much of alternative, but they are only, making different kind of noises, which in the real sense makes no difference. In this context, alliances become very important, because the main principle on which these political parties are fighting the election is a winnability criteria. So any candidate who is a winnable, who can win the election, they have brought it to their own fold. That is why you find in this election there is there is a leaders which are basically moving from one party to another, and there are leaders who have changed the party 3 times in a week.
Okay. Can you unpack the alliances one by one? Can we look at the Shiromani Akali Dal Bahujan Samaj Party alliance first? The BSP has seen its vote share drop to below 2% in the 2017 election. All its candidates, barring one, lost their deposits. But the 2 parties together, how does this dynamic work?
The alliance between SAD and BSP, this is after a long time, Akali Dal has come into alliance with the BSP. It was in 1996 the first time Akali Dal entered into alliance with BSP for the parliament elections.
Yes.
And in that election, they won around, out of 13 seats, they won 11. And it is for the first time that this BSP, Pramod Samaj Party, Bahujan Samaj Party, Mr. Kashiram won the election for the first time to the parliament.
Right.
The alliance with the BSP is important for them because BSP used to get, only in this election, they have got only a 1.5 or 6% vote share. But before that, they were getting 4.5% and earlier also 6%. But they used to make Akali Dal lose in around 15 constituencies, which means they used to act as a spoiler. So it was basically a spoiler party. And entering into alliance with the BSP means that Akali Dal can gain in those 15 seats where they used to spoil their chances of winning. So, and also from the cultural and sociological point of view, it is important because BSP represents a section of scheduled castes in Punjab. And that is why, the Akali Dal, which is mainly a rural-based party, and also semi-urban areas, they have some kind of a sport base also. So entering into alliance with BSP means that they can get the support of Dalits and a section of the Dalits and also Khet Mazdoors and others. So this alliance is important for them in this sense.
Right. Dr. Kumar, why has the Bahujan Samaj Party, which was birthed in Punjab, not seen the kind of spectacular or even consistent electoral success as one imagined they would in a state that has 32% Dalits?
We have now at this stage, the 32% of the total population are the scheduled castes. And from the categories which we use normally in other states, then it becomes very important. So because such a huge population of one particular caste, the assumption is that they should be able to influence the elections and support people, representing their own caste in the electoral domain. But this hasn't happened in Punjab. The BSP, which was basically emerged from Punjab, could not find an adequate space and moved to the nearby Uttar Pradesh, and where they could become successful. The reason for this is that, number one, that Punjab does not have any exclusive vote banks based on religion or caste. This is very clear. And there are also not very neat categories of caste and religion which are operative in Punjab. And the reason for that is that Punjab has a very long tradition of liberal religious practices in relation to caste. That is Sikhism, both Sikhism and the Arya Samaj. They have liberated the Punjabi society, and particularly Dalits, from the stringent purity pollution based behavioral patterns, which means at the behavioral level, the discriminations are, the purity pollution concept was not functional, ceased to be functional in Punjab.
Right.
Sikhism weakened this caste system in a big way. So the Punjabi Dalit has a regional flavor, which is different from the Dalits living in other parts of the country. So that made, the ideological content of the BSP was not able to appropriate the regional cultures and economic specificities of Punjab.
Right. Okay, let's look at the BJP Punjab Lok Congress Shiromani Akali Dal Sanyukt tie-up. And how is the Amarinder Singh factor going to play?
Okay. And interestingly, this alliance, if you look at this alliance, its nature, Bharatiya Janata Party was in government for 10 years with Shiromani Akali Dal, that is from 2007 to 2017. They were the alliance partners and they ruled Punjab.
Yes.
And after that, Capt Amarinder Singh ruled Punjab from 2017 to only, till 6 months before, or 4 months before, he was the Chief Minister of Punjab. So both, if you combine both of them, and then the third, Mr. Dindsa, the group, he was also in power along with the Akalis for the last 10 years, from 2007 to 2017. So which means all the groups were virtually, in power for the last 15 years.
Right.
So they ruled Punjab in 15 years, for 15 years, and now they are giving an alternative to Punjab by combining together. And the point which I am trying to make is that they are no ideological similarity, no political, alliance history, but they are together now fighting this election. And they have entered into pre-election alliance simply because the BJP, which has wanted to elevate itself uh, as a dominant partner in Punjab with the Akali Dal. And Akali Dal refused to give them that space historically and now also. So therefore, in this alliance, the BJP will be fighting around 65 seats. The Lok Congress of Capt Amarinder Singh 37 and Shiromani Akali Dal Sanyukt Morcha 15. So it is widely believed in Punjab that this alliance may become functional in only select constituencies. But in majority of the constituencies, they may adversely affect the chances of the Congress party.
Yes.
So this is the BJP will also, the urban vote share, which earlier went to the Congress party, now may come back to the BJP because the kind of politics which the Congress party did, where they first announced the Hindu as their chief minister, and then they replaced it. In order to replace Captain Amarinder Singh, they announced the name of a Hindu leadership, that is Mr. Sunil Jakhar. And then by the next day, they decided that there will be a Jat Sikh Kisan who will be succeeding Captain Amarinder Singh. But the next evening, they decided, that it will be Charanjit Singh Channi, who belongs to the scheduled caste, will be the chief minister. And this whole practice was done in a public domain. And a Congress spokesperson mentioned that Hindu cannot be the chief minister of Punjab.
Yes.
And therefore, we must have a Sikh. Madam Ambika Soni made this statement. So this, acting out of discrimination in public domain has made urban Hindu and semi-urban Hindus slightly averse to the Congress party. So they are now may get consolidated with the BJP or spill over to Shiromani Akali Dal. So that may happen.
Okay. Now, the Aam Aadmi Party was expected to ally with the farmers' unions, SSM, but that didn't work out. Is the SSM fighting separately going to impact the Aam Aadmi Party?
Aam Aadmi Party wanted to have an alliance with the Sanyukt Samaj Morcha, but it didn't work out. And that I think will the AAP will be at a disadvantage simply because the Sanyukt Samaj Morcha may affect the change-oriented vote. And they take some share of that vote, which wants change from the traditional party, away from the traditional party. And this will adversely affect the Aam Aadmi Party. And the Aam Aadmi Party vote share, if we look in the slightly back in the history, that it was 24% in 2014, and it came down to 7% in 2019 parliament elections. So in all the constituencies except, in Batinda and Sangrur, which is called, Malwa, and of course, Khadur Sahab, the vote share of both the losing and the winning party, that is the Congress and the Akali Dal, has increased at the expense of the Aam Aadmi Party. So, since they could not enter into this alliance, and then Sanyukt Samaj Morcha made a major allegation against this Aam Aadmi Party that we are not entering into alliance with them simply because they are selling party tickets and indulging in malpractices to manipulate a win in Punjab.
And what do you make of the opinion poll, or some opinion polls put the Aam Aadmi Party in pole position?
My take is on opinion polls is this, that they are more a campaign strategy rather than in the real sense opinion, representing the opinion of the people. So because in most of the opinion polls, they have given AAP number one and almost the same figure, whether they have done it a sample of 1 lakh people or 20,000 or 10,000 people. So different polls conducting different samples and giving the same results. So why they are wasting money? Saying that we have done on 1 lakh, rather than they should do on 5,000 and 10,000 and give the same result. That where they are saying AAP is number one and Congress is number two, Akali is distant number third. So this is the narrative which they are trying to build. So this narrative can be built otherwise also at a less expense way rather than spending so much money and building the same kind of narrative. So I basically think that Punjab elections, I mean, result outcome may not be in conformity with some of the opinion polls because at the ground reality of Punjab is so much intermeshed and so much complex this time. And I basically think there are 117 elections. There are total 117 constituencies, and there are 117 elections in Punjab. Each constituency has its own story to tell.
Okay.
When there are no ideological boundaries and there are no limits, I mean, drawn, people can move this way or that way. If leaders are moving this way and that way, so are the voters. So I don't think, I mean, it's very easy, I mean, to come to any conclusion. But one thing one can easily say, if there is a hung situation, then perhaps one will see the Shiromani Akali Dal part of any combination which is going to form the government, be it with the BJP or I mean Aam Aadmi Party or even with Congress.
Okay. Now, different parties have announced chief ministerial candidates or potential chief ministerial candidates. What kind of leadership does Punjab need today?
How far you can take out Punjab from stagnation in agriculture? How can you take out Punjab and make it, I mean, more the youth more employable, improve the quality of education? Because Punjab needs a paradigm shift.
Sure.
It has reached at a particular level of development. From there, to take Punjab out of that required a very, very incisive vision. And rather than, I mean, merely talking of freebies or telling people will give you this thing free and that thing free, and Sidhu Saab to even saying that they will give 2,000 rupees free to everyone, every woman, and then so many cylinders. So is, I mean, Aam Aadmi Party, electricity free, water free, everything free. I mean, I think they are making Punjabi society not development oriented, but khairat oriented. And this is what Punjab doesn't need actually, because with a 8% poverty level, which is lowest in the country, you cannot, I mean, throw freebies like this here.
Okay. Let's, for the moment, focus on the Congress party. We saw that spectacular performance in the 2017 election. But in the last several months, we have seen a massive upheaval. Amarinder Singh is out of the picture. Navjot Singh Sidhu, who was a big campaigner in 2017, reports say has mostly been restricted to campaigning in his constituency because of the challenge posed by Bikram Majitia. How do you see, and of course there's Chief Minister Channi, how do you see the Congress in this election?
I think that the Congress party is in a self-destructive mood. And metaphorically speaking, the Punjab Congress is divided into 5 missiles. To use Maharana Ranjit Singh's governance model, there is a Sidhu missile, there is a Channi missile, there is a Bajwa missile, there is a Jakhad missile, and there is a Randhawa missile. And unfortunately, there is no Maharaja Ranjit Singh to coordinate these warring confederates.
Right.
So hence, they are working overtime to outmaneuver each other and bound to adversely affect the winning chances of the Congress party. So they don't need any opposition. So they are in a self-destructive mode, and then they are excessively relying on Channi factor.
Yes.
That the first CM, the Dalit CM, they are hoping that the Channi factor will be able to swing Punjab in their favor. But it was very interesting when initially they appointed Mr. Channi as Chief Minister, and then they formed a collective leadership concept where Mr. Sunil Jakhad, Mr. Charanjit Singh Channi, and Mr. Navjot Sidhu, they were made the 3 leaders that they will lead the Congress party to election and together, and it's a collective leadership which will be there. But then I don't know the wisdom, which kind of wisdom they have. They suddenly, I mean, from this inclusive leadership, they came out with a exclusive leadership concept that Mr. Channi will be the next Chief Minister. And I think with this announcement, the Punjab election again became a very, very difficult for Congress party, because Punjab cannot be seen in terms of these kind of, as I mentioned, exclusive categories. And so that I think will adversely affect the chances of the Congress. And there is a much, people think that Mr. Channi will be able to swing the Dalit vote, which I have my doubts, because in Punjab, Dalits are, as I mentioned earlier, not very homogeneous category. Dalits are represented in almost every political party. In earlier 11 elections, in 6 elections, the Dalits were more represented in Akali Dal, and in 5 elections, they were represented in the more Dalits were represented in the MLAs were in Congress party, and they were also represented in all the political parties in Punjab.
Okay. Dr. Pramod Kumar, we have to talk about the various deras and the role, a key role that they have played in elections in the state. For those unfamiliar with the socio-political role played by these deras, could you sort of elaborate? Also, could you talk about deras and how they play on the intersection of caste?
They are divided into different deras. So there, for example, I mean, the Majbis, a section of the Majbis are followers of Dera Sacha Soda, which is a very, very active and controversial Dera in Punjab.
Right.
And then there is a Dera Sachkhand Bala, which is basically has a large following of Ravidasiyas into it. So Deras also represent different castes, subcastes.
Sure.
The kind of now in the last minute maneuverability of Deras may change the outcome of the elections, this time also in Punjab. So if I may give you a small figure, there are around 56 constituencies in Punjab where different Deras exercise their influence. Radha Swami influence around 19. Dera Sacha Soda, mainly, I mean, they can shift the chances of election in 15 to 20 constituencies. And then there are other small Deras, Dera Balla in 8, and there are others, I mean, who can influence the outcome in different constituencies. They have vote share of 5,000, 10,000, one constituency or another. So it is here the blind faith of these devotees is stated as votes by these self-styled godmen.
Yes.
And why, I mean, these Deras are popular? Because these Deras have acquired a moral superiority by liberating their devotees from vices like drugs, drunkenness, and have been efficiently providing access to health services and subsidized food. So Deras have been very active in these social domains, and they are able to, they are just like, if I may say, the place where the people can go and worship, and there they leave their caste behind. For example, the followers of Dera Sacha Soda are known as Premis.
Right.
So that becomes, I mean, their identity. So they give them a new identity, and that liberates them, I mean, from the identity which is there in society, which is very, for example, for the low caste, it is not very comfortable kind of identity. So Deras have been doing it. Therefore, they exercise they are very influential with their followers.
Okay. On that note, Dr. Pramod Kumar, thank you for unpacking the elections in Punjab for our listeners. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks also to our listeners. We'll be back next Friday.